Sorry folks, I think I got a cold. As for the second time the cosmic window opened, it was 66.6 Jubilee years ago. Interesting number. When God chose to recite the 10 utterances. The first time occurred a total of 115.6 Jubilee years ago. To understand that, you must be able to think of time, there it is, that word again, as fluid, and space as collapse, and reality as we know it as an illusion. In other words, you must be able to perceive the tree of life reality that was offered to our ancestors back in 2448 HC, that's Hellenistic common, 49 Jubilee years after creation. This is a program. This is a program. That's exactly what they're telling you. That's why it's an illusion. It's a program. That's why it starts and it stops. You ever seen the picture of the snake biting its tail? That's time. It's called Oribus. The program starts right where it stops. It's a never-ending loop. The book of Ecclesiastics, to everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season. Because it's the same program running over and over and over and over again. The pyramids, the time cube, red, yellow, blue, green. It goes around and around and around. And it comes to a stop, and once it gets to red, where civilization collapses, it goes green. It starts all over again. You know, people forget that the Genesis says, in Genesis it says, the Elohim created man and then placed him in the garden. He didn't create him in the garden, he placed him in the garden. We don't even know where we came from. Okay? That's the interesting thing. Then it goes on to say that God told Adam and Eve to be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. R-E, to do it again. So now we have at least 2 times in the Bible where it's stating that this is not the first time. And I think this is why science has such a hard time correlating, because this has gone around and around and around so many times that the timelines don't meet up. Because this is not the first time we've gone around. Everything should be exactly so if this was the first time that man has been here. And personally, I think that this phase of humanity is being phased out. I don't mean like fingers and toes evolution. I mean there's something bigger on the horizon where this particular species of man will cease to exist. Because I think there's a movement on to mesh man with the machine, and the machine being that of Saturn, because this particular species or model, the wiring ain't quite right the way they would like it. And so, because like in the movie The Matrix, choice throws the equation off. Remember what the architect said? He said everything else is perfect, flawless, except for the fact that you people have choice. And every time you make a choice, you change the equation. That's just my take. I could be wrong. But at least what we're reading here, right here, is telling you that this is a program. Now this is interesting. You remember where I showed this from my other video, the time cube? This is when you look down from a pyramid. Remember I told you this is how it starts out? This represents, the 4 sides represent, this is actually a cube. And each side is a different stage in the advancement of a civilization. And so it starts out an infant, then it goes to a child, then it goes to a parent, then it goes to a grandparent. And once it's red, which means society is breaking completely down, it goes green. So you have the beginning of civilization in green. When it reaches its apex, or the top, in yellow. As it starts to erode and loses morals, it's represented by blue. And when it finally falls apart, it turns red. And then once the system reboots, it goes green. Well, you know, this is my contention of what this is. And so I ran across something not too long ago, and I forgot to put it in with my time cube video, that I wanted to show you, which will bolster the fact that this is a computer. And so we're going to move on to that here right now. This is basically part of a computer program, but what caught my eye is first of all, you see the 2 time cubes, one in the front and one in the back. What does it say? There's a collection of child nodes as well as parent nodes. Now that's interesting because if we go back to the time cube, the one with the pyramids, there's a child, there's child, and then there's parent. So, and they're both time cubes. So this is not coincidence. Once again, this is proving to me that this is a computer. I made this diagram of the time cube before I ran across this. So the odds of that happening are, you better go buy a lottery ticket because it's too astronomical. This is a computer program. Simple. If you watch in the overlay, you'll see that there's a child node and there is a parent node. Nodes are connecting points or gates where information goes through. This is, folks, this is far, far beyond coincidence. Far, far. Everything is binary. You're binary, the world is binary, everything is binary. It's gates, it's positive, negative, ones and zeros. That's what it is. This is not by chance. No way in hell. Now, this is exactly what the time cube looks like on the inside. Incidentally, you'll see where it says north, south, east, west. That's where you get the words news. If you read the writings, it'll say, Saturn said, I am the first and the last, the alpha and omega. I am the north, south, east, and west, top and bottom. That's where that cube comes from. Incidentally, there's a black cube in the United Nations prayer room. Same thing, folks. If you were to look down on the very top of this thing, you would see where the X in the middle there would appear to be an X across the top, but it's not. Because now you're looking at a three-dimensional view instead of a two-dimensional view. And it's interesting that whoever made this put a pharaoh in the corner. Incidentally, the pharaoh comes back from Egypt. Egypt is where the pyramids are at. The pyramids are actually X boxes or time cubes, and a time cube refers to Saturn. It all lines up perfect. And within this box or this cube that we reside in, these parameters, the program it can change. It's a program. It's a processor. I don't know how to explain it, but I think you get the gist of it. I know it's bizarre. Look, I was raised as a Lutheran. In my wildest dreams, I never ever thought that I would embark on a journey like this to find the things that I'm finding. This is you can't write this in science fiction. This is so insanely bizarre. But I'm afraid it's true. It's got to be. There's just too much evidence. You know, the religions and a lot of the occultic stuff, they don't know what this thing is. A lot of them do. A lot of them know exactly what it is. I guarantee you, Count Chocula, the Pope, he knows exactly what this thing is. Because they all want to manipulate it. They all want to manipulate the program. But they just don't all know exactly how to do it. So, let's just move on here. If we look at the cube, the one I just showed you with the pharaoh on the top, if you look straight down on it, see it makes an X box. I just colored it in two sides black, two white. It's interesting when you do that because now you have two independent hourglasses. Do you see it? You got a black hourglass on its side and you got a white hourglass standing straight up and down. Do you remember when you used to click on your computer on your older Windows 95, Windows 98? They used a little hourglass that would flip around? It's because that's what that's representing. It's representing the time cube. Incidentally, the Pope has this exact design on his hat. Well, one hat. The guy's got more hats than broads have shoes. But anyway, he's got that exact symbol on a lot of his hats. It's also that particular symbol right there is manipulated over and over and over and over again. You know, the fire department uses that same symbol. They all use the same symbol. They just change it. They round off the corners, or the, or whatever. But that's what that is. That's the time cube. And it represents the planet Saturn. And the planet Saturn is what runs this planet and creates the illusion of life. This does not cut into the fact that Jesus Christ is the son of the Creator. He's not the son of Saturn. He is the son of the original Creator. He's the one that came in and busted the spell, for lack of a better word, to get us out of here by sacrificing himself for us. I'll do another video on that, because that isn't exactly the way it's written, is not exactly correct. They duped you on that too. But that's what this means. This is a time cube. That's what that cube is. And that's what the pyramids are. And they all revert back to the planet Saturn. Now you see this? You see what it says? It says 360 repair. It's an Xbox 360, the motherboard, the processor. These things in the back are what take the heat away from the board to keep it from overheating. Okay? Those things create the seal of Saturn. Isn't that interesting? So you have an Xbox, which is what the pyramids are, which are associated with Saturn. You have an Xbox, and it says 360, which is a circle. So now you have the circle and the square, which is time and space. It can also be, it can also represent Saturn and the moon. But that's on a different level. So we're just going to stay with time and space. So here we have an Xbox 360 motherboard that has the seal of Saturn on the very back of it, which is more than bizarre that the product represents the planet Saturn, and they use the actual designation for Saturn to cool down the machine. So let's see if we turn this thing on its side, what it resembles. Okay, so now that I turned it on its side and I filled it in, do you remember this picture at the very beginning of the video? So I'm going to do an overlay for you, and then you'll be able to tell exactly right away. This thing is a computer, and I'm proving it over and over and over again. So here we see that the Xbox 360, when we turn it on its side, becomes the Kabbalistic tree of life, which is actually 2 X's, which means it's a seal of Saturn, representing that thing is what gives life or creates the reality of life that you live in on the planet Earth. And as the Jews said, Saturn is our heaven, is heaven to our earth. There you go. Now this little gem, I found this, I don't remember where, but it's interesting that the universe is referred to as a machine. Anytime you talk about the cube or the universe or Saturn and the word machine comes up, it's very interesting. So obviously I'm not the first person to wonder about this. And without joining a secret society or something, I mean, I worked my ass off for years. And I think I've at least buttoned this down enough for me, and hopefully I've gotten you guys to raise your eyebrows a few times or squint your eyes a little bit to try and figure out just how crazy this really is. I think we've been lied to through the religions. I think we've just been totally screwed over. And there is a real truth out there, and hopefully someday we'll all know it. But for now, this ends this video. I appreciate the time that you've taken to sit down and watch it. I was much happier when I didn't know any of this stuff. Jesus said, with wisdom comes sorrow. Well, I think he was right, because I'm sick that I learned any of this.